In a small town in Nigeria, there was a barber named Chijioke. Everyone called him Chiji for short. Chiji had a little shop painted bright yellow, and it stood right in the middle of the busy market. His shop was called Sharp Cuts, and everyone in the town said he gave the best haircuts. When people sat in Chiji's chair, they always left happy. Their hair looked perfect, their edges were sharp, and their styles were just right. No one else in the town could cut hair like Chiji. Because of this, everyone wanted him to cut their hair, from children to old men and even women who wanted special haircuts. But what the people didn't know was that Chiji's perfect haircuts had a secret. At night, when the market was quiet and everyone was asleep, Chijioke stayed awake in his shop. He had a small black pot hidden in the back room. Inside the pot, he placed the hair he had swept off the floor during the day. Then he would whisper strange words, and a shadowy black spirit would rise from the pot. The spirit had no face, just two glowing red eyes. Its voice was deep and scary. "Chijioke," the spirit would say, "you have brought me more hair." "Good, very good." "Yes, great spirit," Chijioke would reply. "Now, give me what you promised." The spirit would then blow a cold wind into the room, and Chijioke's hands would start to glow. The spirit had given him the magic to cut hair perfectly. But there was a deal between them. Chijioke had to keep giving the spirit hair, or the magic would stop working. One sunny afternoon, a little boy named Emeka came to Chijioke's shop with his father. Emeka had a small round face and big, curious eyes. His father, Mr. Obina, said, "Chiji, please give my son a nice haircut. Make him look sharp for school." Chijioke smiled and said, "Of course, Mr. Obina. Sit down, Emeka." Emeka climbed into the big chair, and Chijioke put a white cloth around his neck. As Chijioke started cutting Emeka's hair, something strange happened. The black spirit shadow appeared behind Chijioke, but no one else could see it. Only Chijioke knew it was there. The spirit whispered into his ear, "Cut carefully, Chijioke. This boy's hair is special." Chijioke's hand shook a little, but he continued cutting. He wondered what the spirit meant. Why was Emeka's hair special? When the haircut was done, Emeka looked at himself in the mirror and smiled. "Thank you, sir," he said happily. His father paid Chijioke, and they left the shop, not knowing that Chijioke had swept Emeka's hair into the back room, ready for the spirit. That night, as Chijioke prepared the hair in the black pot, the spirit appeared again. But this time, its voice was louder and more excited. "This hair is powerful, Chijioke," it said. "You will become the greatest barber in the land if you bring me more like it." Chijioke felt both happy and scared. He wanted to be the greatest barber, but what was so special about Emeka's hair? And what would the spirit do with it? The next day, Emeka's father came back to the shop. But this time, he wasn't smiling. "Chijioke, something strange is happening," he said. "Ever since you cut Emeka's hair, he's been saying he sees shadows in his room at night. What's going on?" Chijioke's heart raced, but he forced a smile. Mr. Obina, children have wild imaginations. It's probably nothing." But deep down, Chijioke knew the truth. The black spirit was connected to Emeka now, and it might not let him go so easily. What had he done? That night, Chijioke locked his shop earlier than usual. He sat in the back room, staring at the black pot. The spirit had promised him greatness, but now he was afraid. He whispered into the pot, calling the spirit. When it rose, its red eyes glowed brighter than ever. "Why is the boy seeing shadows?" Chijioke asked nervously. "You never said this would happen." The spirit laughed, a cold, echoing sound. "The boy's hair holds a rare power, Chijioke. It binds him to me. As long as I have it, he will see the shadows. But do not worry, it will not harm him yet." "Yet?" Chijioke's voice trembled. "What does that mean?" The spirit leaned closer, its shadow stretching across the room. "You must bring me more hair like his. If you do, I may release him. But if you fail, the shadows will grow stronger. And soon, they will take him completely." Chijioke felt trapped. How could he find more hair like Emeka's? And how could he explain this to Mr. Obina without revealing his dark secret? He needed a plan, and fast. The following morning, as the sun rose, Chijioke decided he would visit Emeka's house. He had never been there before, but he needed to see for himself what was happening. As he walked through the busy market, Thoughts swirled in his mind. Should he warn Mr. Obinna? Should he ask the spirit to stop? When he reached the house, he saw Emeka playing outside with his friends. The boy seemed happy, but Chijioke noticed something strange. There was a faint shadow following Emeka, moving like smoke in the sunlight. It was almost invisible, but Chijioke's trained eyes could see it. Mr. Obinna came out of the house and saw Chijioke standing by the gate. "Ah, Chiji, what brings you here?" he asked, trying to sound polite, though his eyes were full of suspicion. "I came to check on Emeka," Chijioke said, forcing a smile. "I heard what you said yesterday and wanted to make sure he's okay." "He seems fine during the day," Mr. Obinna said, lowering his voice. "But at night, he wakes up screaming. He says the shadows are calling his name. It's getting worse, Chiji." Chijioke's stomach tightened. He couldn't tell Mr. Obinna the truth, but he had to do something. "Maybe I can bless the house," he said suddenly. "Sometimes these things need a little cleansing." Mr. Obinna looked surprised but nodded. "If you think it will help, please do." Chijioke entered the house, his heart pounding. As he walked through the rooms, he could feel the spirit's presence growing stronger. In Emeka's bedroom, the air felt colder. He placed his hand on the wall and whispered under his breath, "Spirit, leave this boy alone. I will bring you what you want." The room seemed to darken for a moment, and a faint laugh echoed in Chijioke's ears. The spirit's voice whispered, "Do not delay, Chijioke. Time is running out." Chijioke left the house feeling more desperate than ever. He needed to find a way to break the connection between Emeka and the spirit. But how? And what price would he have to pay? That evening, as Chijioke sat in his shop deep in thought, a young woman named Adiz walked in. She was new in town, and her bright smile and braided hair made her stand out. "Good evening, Baba Chiji," Adiz greeted. "I've heard you're the best barber in town. Can you give me a fresh style?" Chijioke hesitated. He didn't want to take any more hair, not after what happened with Emeka. But he couldn't refuse a customer without raising suspicion. "Of course, Adiz," he said finally. "Please have a seat." As Chijioke worked on Adiz's hair, the spirit's shadow appeared once again. It lingered, unseen by Adiz, but its presence was suffocating for Chijioke. The spirit whispered, "This woman's hair has potential. Do not waste it, Chijioke." Chijioke's hands trembled, but he didn't reply. Instead, he finished Adiz's hair as quickly as he could. Adiz looked in the mirror and smiled, thanking him before leaving the shop. Later that night, Chijioke stared at the pile of Adiz's hair. He didn't want to use it, but he knew the spirit was watching. The black pot seemed to call out to him, urging him to make the offering. As the room grew colder, the spirit's voice echoed in his ears. "Chijioke, the clock is ticking. Bring me what I need, or suffer the consequences." Chijioke clenched his fists. "I need more time," he shouted at the pot. "I can't keep doing this. Tell me how to break this curse." The spirit's laughter filled the room, dark and mocking. "A curse, you say? You made this deal willingly, Chijioke. There is no escape unless you pay the price. Bring me what I demand, and I may spare the boy." Torn between guilt and fear, Chijioke decided he had to find answers elsewhere. He remembered an old wise woman named Neka who lived at the edge of the forest. She was known for her knowledge of spirits and ancient rituals. Perhaps she could help. The next morning, Chijioke closed his shop early and made his way to Neka's hut. The path was narrow and overgrown, and the forest seemed eerily quiet. When he arrived, the old woman was sitting outside, weaving a basket. "Neka," Chijioke said, bowing respectfully, "I need your help." The old woman looked up, her sharp eyes studying him. "Chijioke the barber," she said in a raspy voice. "I've been expecting you." Chijioke's heart skipped a beat. "You know why I'm here?" Neka nodded. "The spirits whispered to me, child. You have bound yourself to a dark force. Tell me everything." Chijioke sat on a wooden stool and poured out his story. He told her about the black spirit, the deal, and Emeka's shadow. Neka listened quietly, her wrinkled face unreadable. When he finished, she sighed. "You have made a grave mistake, Chijioke. The spirit you serve is an ancient one, hungry and relentless. It feeds on the essence of those it touches, and it will not stop until it has consumed everything." Chijioke's voice shook. "Is there any way to stop it?" Neka reached in her basket and pulled out a small pouch filled with herbs. There is a way, but it will not be easy. You must confront the spirit and sever the bond. To do this, you will need courage, wisdom, and a pure heart. How do I do it? Chijioke asked desperately. You must gather 3 things, Neka explained. First, the hair of an innocent child untouched by the spirit. Second, the root of the sacred Igba tree, which grows deep in the forest. And third, your own blood, willingly offered. Mix these in a fire and call upon the spirit. If your heart is pure, you may break the bond. Chijioke felt a glimmer of hope, but fear still gripped him. What happens if I fail? Neka's eyes darkened. If you fail, the spirit will take you instead. Chijioke swallowed hard. He thanked Neka and left the hut, his mind racing. He knew what he had to do, but the path ahead was fraught with danger. Could he summon the courage to face the spirit and save Emeka? The sun was setting as Chijioke returned to the town. He decided to start by finding the sacred Igba tree. The forest was dense and unfamiliar, and the journey would be treacherous. But he had no choice. Time was running out, and Emeka's life was at stake. As Chijioke prepared for his journey, he couldn't shake the feeling that the spirit was watching him. The air seemed heavier, and shadows danced in the corners of his shop. He knew the spirit would not give up its hold easily. But for the first time, Chijioke felt a spark of determination. He would fight to undo the darkness he had unleashed, no matter the cost. And so, with a pouch of herbs from Neka and a heavy heart, Chijioke stepped into the forest, ready to face his destiny.
If you enjoyed the story so far, show your support by clicking the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Want to hear how this tale ends? Drop next in the comments section below, and we'll bring you the thrilling conclusion in the next video. See you soon.